right. Let's try this thing out. Okay, perfect. Sorry, I was just checking to see that the audio was functioning as it should. And it is. So let's get started. All right, let me make sure that you guys can see everything all right. What did I do? Hang on a sec. Sorry, folks, you're going to have to bear with me as I troubleshoot these things because this is stuff that I'm just trying out for the first time. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I guess clicking into stuff makes it go weird. Let's see. Does clicking into it do anything? No. Okay. All right. Perfect. All right. Thank you for bearing with me for that, folks. Welcome to Cojo F131. This is the first class that I'm teaching of the semester. My name is Ramsey. I have been teaching at UAF for the past 5 years now. I've been a teacher for about 6.5 years at this point. This is the second time that I've taught 131. Generally, I teach 141, which is the individual public speaking class, and I think this one is a little bit more fun. It involves a group component, a problem-solving component. So while you don't get the experience of teaching and of speaking in public the way that you would in an individual public speaking class, here you get a little bit more. It's nicer because you get to interact with your classmates formally more. And then also it's just more activity based, and it's a little bit more fun. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take a look at the syllabus. There are a couple of housekeeping things that I wanted to go through. First of all, I'm sorry that live chat is not enabled. It will be enabled for the next time that I hold a class. For this time, you guys are just going to have to bear with it. Again, this is all stuff that I'm working out as we're going along. The reason that I've chosen to do this through YouTube, if you haven't already taken a look at the syllabus, the reason that I'm choosing to do this as a YouTube stream is, one, it can live forever, and that's a good thing for people who are not able to access it, because the other thing is that I am not going to because I'm not taking attendance for these things, attendance isn't actually mandatory. So you guys are here at the 10:30 a.m. class. I also teach an 11:45 a.m. class, which is the exact same class. And so if you want to tune into this one, if you want to tune into the later one, or if you want to watch it later on, really the only drawback to watching it later on is that you're not going to be able to ask questions live. You're always able to send me an email to ask a question, but sometimes it's just easier for me to be able to say it out loud. And so obviously that's the benefit. Now the drawback to using something like YouTube is that obviously if we were using something like Zoom, you would be able to ask me questions live. The problem with something like Zoom is that we have a limited time for things to start, and Zoom just makes things take a very long time just by the nature of what it is. And so what's it called? Things just take a lot longer to start off with. So here I'm gonna run you guys through the syllabus. It's fairly self-explanatory, and I really recommend that you read it yourself. One of the things that happens every semester is that people freak out about their grades, or people freak out about something. When it's something that they could have easily found, the information is contained somewhere on the syllabus. Even if the syllabus links you to the Cojo website, the Communications and Journalism website, I've included all the resources really that you need to be able to answer all the questions that you may have for the class. Not all, but I would say upwards of 85%, and really definitely the most common questions. So without further ado, let's get started. This is, like I said, Cojo 131, Fundamentals of Oral Communication, Group Context. 141 is Fundamentals of Oral Communication, Individual Context. Like I said, so the other thing is that between 131 and 141, I don't know if you were deliberating whether or not you would take one class or the other, but the first half of the semester is exactly the same. Same for 121, which is interpersonal communication. The first half of the semester is completely the same. So you're, really the differences come in at the end of the semester, and that's where you'll feel it the most. My teaching style is very similar either way. I have a very strong emphasis on things like communication theory. I have a very strong emphasis on being very deliberate with the things that you write, with the things that you say, with the way that you express your body language. These are things that you'll see that I do personally myself, and they bleed very much into the way that I teach. So without further ado, let's start discussing the course description and objectives. Actually, the first thing that I want to do is I want you to take a look at, let's flip the old screen here to the desktop view. Now, if you don't want to take a look at the syllabus, through this screen, you can follow along, of course. If you go into Blackboard, syllabus and book, this is for the FO2 class, but it's the exact same for you guys. You just hit syllabus and book, and you click on this link right here, and it'll download the Microsoft Word document for you. So here we go. All right, let's begin. Obviously, this is a public speaking class. When I first got to the States, when I first moved to Alaska in 2016, it was made clear to me that public speaking is not very strongly emphasized in a lot of American high school curricula, whatever the plural of curriculum is, curriculums, I don't know, curriculi. So a lot of people are uncomfortable with it. That's something that I would say, particularly doing this online and particularly in my class, if you're not very comfortable speaking with other people in public, you're going to see a lot of mercy in that part. Again, in an online class, but particularly in my class, I think that the part of public speaking, the public part of public speaking, is something that you will become more comfortable with the further along with it you go. The more you practice actually being in public, the more comfortable you're going to get with it. The problem with the classroom environment is that it's a petri dish. It's the same 25 people. You become familiar with people, you get familiar with everybody's faces, you know everybody's names, you know who everybody is. It's easy to get comfortable. Public speaking at its essence is a performance art, so you have to do it a lot to get really comfortable with it. On my first day teaching at UAF, I was very, very nervous. Even coming in here, and it started to become much easier for me. But of course, now that we have this online component, I've taught online before. I haven't done an online live class before. So it's my first time doing that. So obviously I was a little bit nervous. I'm pretty good with technology. I mean, I'm quite good with technology, but again, things can, no matter how good you are, things cannot work. We experienced, Microsoft Word not showing up when I clicked into something, so I had to fix it on the fly. It's not that easy for people to fix it on the fly all the time, and so it can be a little bit unnerving. These are all things that you're going to experience trying to do this, but in a much reduced form given this online environment. Now, there are professors who will teach this class that'll force you to, when you do your speeches, do them in front of an audience. I'm not going to make you do that. I heavily recommend that you do because it'll make you more comfortable speaking in public. However, given that, we live in COVID times, you might not be with your family, you might not be within a household where you have easy access to other people to be your audience. And the first thing that I want is for people to be safe. So I'm not going to force you to perform in front of an audience. If you have the luxury of being able to do so and being able to do so safely, I emphasize safely, then by all means that you'll be all the better for it. So let's get into it. This is a public speaking class, so clearly you're not here to make pottery. Haha, my feeble attempt at humor. But I'm a very good public speaker. I'm a very deliberate speaker. I am one of those people that uses $10 words in my everyday speech. It's something that a lot of people in my life comment on, like, oh, Ramsey uses really big words. I tend not to look at it that way. I try to be succinct with the words that I use. Sometimes there are words that describe the thing that you were trying to describe very eloquently. It's the word that means the thing that you're trying to say, and sometimes the thing that you're trying to say is complicated, and it's nice when there's a word that and it's nice when there's a word for that thing that you're trying to describe. So hopefully that's something that you'll learn from me during the course of this class. The other thing that you'll notice is, of course, I gesticulate a lot, and that's something that we also emphasize in our classes. It helps you be emphatic, and it helps you connect more to your audience. I'm looking at myself do this through the webcam on the screen behind the one that I'm looking at you through, and I realize that it's quite infuriating because my hands dominate so much of the camera's real estate. But what are you going to do? All right, so I started off saying this, but let's take a look at how we're going to carry out our course objectives. We're going to be constructing defensible claims that will inform the subject matter of our speeches, applying informative and persuasive outlines to our speeches to ensure that they're structured and planned, developing and sourcing focused points which reinforce and support our claims, and presenting speeches confidently using verbal and nonverbal skills which demonstrate mastery of content. Mastery is a very big word for what we're going to accomplish in this class. What I want you to do, and what I very strongly believe, is that within the span of a semester, no matter what it is that you're talking about, whether you're trying to learn a new sport, whether you're trying to learn public speaking, whatever it is, whether you're trying to learn a musical instrument, whatever it is, within the span of 6 months, you can learn about 50 to 60% of what there is to know about that subject. It gets more difficult the further you're trying to go in that particular field. So really, if you look at the furthest that anybody's gone in the span of human history in a particular thing, if you take that as your 100% point, starting to reach that 95%, that 97%, that 99%, and then going beyond that, that's when you're starting to spend 5 years, 10 years, 15 years doing one specific thing and getting very, very good at it. So obviously the word mastery, wow, that was my dish rack. I apologize. I don't even know if you heard that. It scared the hell out of me. So obviously mastery is a big lofty word that we're going to use, but obviously it's not going to be mastery, but hopefully you're going to become a lot more comfortable with public speaking. So this goal can be broken down into really two areas. There's the content, and then how you deliver that content. So what you're writing, and then how you're expressing what it is that you're writing. I'm like I said, I'm quite good at these things, and I hope to help elevate those skills for you, because these are also things that you can carry on into your daily life. So the thing is, the way that the syllabus works is that I have to lay out the syllabus for you guys, because I teach over 100 students. Currently I teach over 105 students, and add and drop period is not over yet. So chances are I'm going to end up somewhere in the 125 range. So that's a lot of students. The syllabus is here for a very specific reason. It's a contract that outlines my responsibilities for this class. Every semester, I get students who are like, oh, I have this excuse. Oh, I wasn't able to participate for 2.5 months because of this thing. I can't help you. I really I get it. I sympathize. I can't do anything about it, right? Because if it's something that people can take advantage of, that's number one. The other thing is that I have to start making those leniencies for everybody who comes and asks, if I'm making them for one person. We'll get into this a little bit later, but there are only a couple of situations that you can get into where I'll be very lenient. One semester I had a student who was getting knee surgery. She gave me her paperwork, and we were all good. And obviously, in that case, I let her turn things in later. Things that don't fly are, I had a student who showed up for the first week of classes, and then in late November, this is for fall semester a couple of years ago, and then in late November, he emailed me and he was like, I've been very depressed and blah, blah, blah. And again, I sympathize. When I was 18, I'm 30. When I was 18, 8 a.m. classes I considered to be optional. So I, did very poorly my first few semesters of university until I decided that I wanted to get my head in the game. So again, I sympathize, but like the professors who were teaching me those classes, they couldn't do anything for me. I was getting D's and F's, and I deserved them, obviously. So again, but going through those experiences made me want to become a more serious student later on. Hopefully that'll be the case for you. If this is a class that you feel like you don't currently want to take seriously, but excuses like, oh, I've been very depressed and that's why I haven't been showing up. If you're going through any kind of emotional turmoil, and I realize that you guys are, for the most part, probably going to be teenagers or in your early 20s, these are normal parts of life. They happen. However, I need you to at least sort of saddle up the ability to email me early on, because then I can help you. Then I can direct you towards resources. We're encouraged not to give incomplete grades at the end of the semester, but that's something where if I'm given the directive, I take, so in my class, I am like the sovereign ruler, but if an expert and, for example, disability services or somebody or a mental health specialist at the clinic or something like that recommends that I do a particular thing, I will defer to those people's expertise, of course. And so if you reach me earlier on, then we have the ability to do that. If you come and email me at the end of the semester, there's not that much I can do for you, and there's not that much that I'll be willing to do for you, because I don't like being taken for granted, and I don't like people being like, oh, I'm just gonna slack off and then I'm gonna email him this. It's just not how I want to interact with you guys. I already don't like teaching online because I don't get to have interactions with people, and the thing is about being online is that it's a lot easier for people to take advantage of things like that. So I want to minimize that as much as possible. So the teaching methods that I employ are based on a balance of what I believe to be very effective. They're lectures, discussions, and activity-based. In this class, the discussions take place on our discussion boards, and our activities are going to be things that, again, usually we do them in class. This semester, they're going to be a little bit different, and I'll explain how they're going to be different later on. But the delivery methods that we use, obviously, you guys are already, if you're on here, then, or if you're watching this broadcast, then obviously you've already been in Blackboard, or you've at least gotten my email. You should know how to use Blackboard. I make things pretty easy for you to knowing what to navigate. Our content, the class content, really takes place in the class materials section, the discussion section, announcements, and then grades and syllabus. They're all there in the left-hand menu on Blackboard. If you don't know how to use them, get into contact with OIT, and they can definitely help you. You can reach out to me. I'm okay with Blackboard. Like, I know how to get done what I need to get done, but I'm not tech support. So if you're having a very specific issue, I might not be able to help you with that. So I also had a couple of people email me and be like, oh, do we have to share a Google Drive for you, with you like this Sunday? No, guys. So it's in the syllabus. This is what I mean when I say I need you guys to read the syllabus. So each week's worth of content will be released on the Sunday preceding that week. So like yesterday, I emailed you and I said that you need to have this Google Drive folder shared with me by Sunday. I didn't mean yesterday. I meant this upcoming Sunday. It would be preposterous of me to tell you that you needed to send you an email to release the Blackboard lectures at 5 p.m. and then be like, hey, by 11:59, you've got to have this shared with me. The semester hasn't even technically started yet, so obviously I'm not going to make you do that. So when I release content on a Sunday, all of that content is due, whatever is due for the next Sunday, all right? Obviously, for now, we're using YouTube. If people really dislike, if I receive an overwhelming amount of dislike for this platform, we can definitely switch to Zoom. I prefer to do it this way. A lot of the things that we are recommended to do, like a lot of the things that we are recommended by administration to do, administration is full of what most people in this class would probably define as boomers, because they are, but they don't know tech that well, and so I feel like there are better platforms. There are better platforms for us to be able to do the things that we need to do in the most efficient and efficacious way of doing them. So that's why for now I'm using YouTube. Again, if I get an overwhelming amount of dislike, if people hit that dislike button, then we can talk about it and we can move to a different platform. So because this is a group based class, The first two speeches, so we've got two speeches that we're going to do throughout the semester, and that is, well, two individual speeches, I will say, which is an informative speech and a visual aid speech. The visual aid speech is an informative speech with a visual component. That doesn't necessarily have to be PowerPoint. It can be a demonstration of something, but we'll get into that later. The next two projects that we have are a fishbowl and a symposium. A fishbowl is a problem-solving activity that a group has to do in front of the rest of the class. I haven't decided yet whether or not I'm going to bring the entire class in on Zoom and have a designated group of 4 to 5 people, however much it's going to be, depending on how many people end up being in the class at the end of add and drop period. I don't know if I'm going to make them do it in front of the entire class. Probably that is how it's going to end up being. I'm just going to give everybody the Zoom link, and whoever wants to show up and be an audience for you guys, they can absolutely do that. Again, we have a little flexibility with how we can do these things. So we can discuss that later. And then you have a symposium. The symposium is that same group that you did your fishbowl with. You guys are then also going to do a group presentation. So like your informative and visual aid speeches, this speech will have to have a PowerPoint component to it, but you're going to have to give an informative speech with a visual component. But the difference is that it's going to have to be a group speech. So you're going to have to delegate. One person's going to have to be a moderator. They're going to introduce the topic and they will conclude it. And then they're going to introduce each person that's going to discuss the different components of the subject that you're talking about. We'll get into that later. But for those things, we will be using Zoom. All right. Now the next thing, Kaltura, okay? So Kaltura is a program that you have access to with your Alaska ID. Next week, I'll show you how to use Kaltura. I really vehemently dislike Kaltura because it's difficult to get to and it saves in a weird place on Blackboard that's also difficult to access. I prefer not to use it. However, if you don't have a phone with a camera, okay, so anything that you turn into me, anything that is not like a live presentation that you have to turn into me, you will turn into your Google Drive folder. So if you want to record your speeches on your phone, that's fine. That's how 99% of people do it. If you have a laptop with a webcam, Windows 8 machines or newer have a program called Camera, or Photo Booth on Mac OS X is if you use a MacBook, which I know a lot of people do. Those are all a webcam capturing software. You're free to use those, and those will create files on your machines that you can use and submit to Google Drive that I can then watch. Alternatively, you can use Kaltura. With Kaltura, probably the easiest thing is for you to make the video public and then submit a link to me. Again, the link will be shared. What you'll do is you'll create a Word document or a Google Doc, and the link to your Kaltura video will be in that Google Doc. Again, even just from what I'm saying now, you realize this is very complicated. It's not my preferred means of doing this, but it's something that is an option that is available to us. Most people have smartphones that we probably won't end up using Kaltura. And then finally, Google Drive. Google Drive, along with YouTube and Blackboard, is sort of like the backbone of my teaching. Even in my offline classes, I use Google Drive because Google Drive allows me to create a paperless environment in the classroom. The things that I need to share with you guys, I can share on Blackboard. I can just push those things to Blackboard because you guys can download them. I just send out an announcement the way that I did yesterday saying that, hey, this content is available, all right? And that's it. And then you guys can download it, and that's it. It's a lot more difficult for you guys to share content with me. So the easiest way for you guys to do that is to share a Google Drive folder with me. When you share a Google Drive folder with me, I take that folder and I put it in the designated class that you belong to. So when you share a Google Drive folder with me, all right, the format it should be saved in is your name, the class that you're in. So that would be Cojo 131, Cojo 121, Cojo 141. For you guys, it's Cojo 131. And then your section is FX1. if you take a look at the top of this, where is it? This Word document right here, that you're in Cojo 131, section FX1, okay? But where it says syllabus, it would say your name. So Ramsey Abu Galium, Cojo 131, FX1. I know exactly where to put you, okay? You don't even need to have spring 2021 because I organize my shared folders by date. So the most recent ones, like I'll know belong to you guys. So that's not a huge issue, but it is very important that you share a Google Drive folder with me. You cannot email me assignments. I will not accept them. If something isn't being, like if your Google Drive can't upload your informative speech at 11:57 p.m. on the night that it's due, I can't help you. Okay, like I said, I teach over 100 students. I can't sit around and play tech support for 105 students. It's not how it works. All right, it's beyond the scope of my being an instructor. Okay. Now then we move on to technical requirements, prerequisite support, all of that sort of thing. You have to have access to the internet. If you have no way to access the internet, or if your connection is very, very poor, and I say it sort of, I say it at the end here somewhere. If you don't have access to the internet, live in a remote area, limited internet access, or have travel plans that will take you away from the internet for significant periods of time, this isn't the class for you. Your success depends on your ability to access and engage. Them's the breaks, kiddos. I can't do anything about that. Again, like I'll do a lot that's within my power. This is something that I just is beyond my ken. All right. You also need some kind of recording equipment, whether it's a smartphone, whether it's a webcam, camera, something like that. You need to have a camera and a microphone to be able to record stuff. You may need a tripod, depending on if you're having tech issues. If you don't know how to record yourself, then you can contact me and we can figure these things out. Again, generally, this isn't the sort of thing that's an issue. Most people know how to do this stuff. Microsoft Word is needed for this course. You can use Google Docs. That's totally fine. You don't explicitly need Microsoft Word. Your Alaska EDU is a Google-based username, login, access, all of that sort of thing. So you do have it's a Google account, so you have access to all Google products, and so you can submit things via Google Docs. It's very easy to do. You can even create Google Docs from within Google Drive, or you can make spreadsheets, or go to docs.google.com, any of that sort of thing. Again, these are things that are very easy to do, and I will show you how to do them. All videos and other class materials uploaded by the instructor and students are not permitted to be shared outside of the class environment. There may be students who upload their speeches into one of our discussion forums, because the discussions will involve people discussing their speeches, and sometimes they might want you, their classmates, to take a look at them. Maybe they think you'll think it's interesting, maybe they'll want feedback, any of that sort of thing. You are not permitted to share that information. Students are protected by a FERPA agreement, so that means that I'm not allowed to share there. And this is not just for me, by the way, this is for any of your instructors. If your mother calls me and is like, oh, is Catherine doing well in her classes? I'm not allowed to tell her that information unless you sign a release, and the release is available. I don't remember who the release is available from, but if that's something that you're interested in, then we can sit down and figure it out. Of course, you need access to your UAF email account. I had a couple of people try to share folders with me, or try to access the Google documents that explains to you how to share a Google Drive through their Gmail account or anything like that. It's not going to work. You need to access it through your Alaska EDU email. That's just one of those things where it has to be that way. It has to be... I have to standardize that, because everything breaks in our Google schema, in our Google structure, like the Alaska EDU system, because it's not designed for, like, if you realize, if you're on your Alaska EDU email and I send you an email from my personal Gmail, it gives you this big yellow warning like, hey, this person is not in your domain, be careful. All right, so a lot of things break when you're not using your alaska.edu. That's one of those things that you're just going to, it might be a pain in the ass, but it's just one of those things that you need to have access to. All right. So technical prerequisites, you got to know how to use the internet. Something that I am always staggered by is the amount of people that don't really know how to use very simple filing systems like Google Drive, or how to access basic things in their email. It's 2021, guys, and you're young, most of you, and even if you're not, even if you're older than I am, these are things that in order to facilitate your way through today's world, these are things that you need to know how to do. It might be difficult. If you don't know how to do it, reach out to me, reach out to the librarians at the library, reach out to OIT. These are people that'll be happy to help you do the thing that you're trying to do. You're going to know how to do research using the UAF library resources. The librarians will be happy to help you, and I give you a very rudimentary course. And then also UAF, if you're an undergrad student, makes you take a library sciences class, which will give you all the information that you need to be able to do that. You've got to have basic knowledge of how to format a Word document, know how to record video, know how to upload. We're not going to be uploading videos to Blackboard. That's, they make us say that, but it's very rare that that's going to happen. Also uploading documents to Blackboard, you're not going to need to know how to do that. It's more going to be Google Drive, and uploading those things to Google Drive is very, very easy. You do need to know how to use your UAF provided email account to send and receive emails. And then you have to be able to watch videos that I post to Blackboard. All right. So here's the technical information for OIT. You can read that at your own leisure. Moving on to classroom climate. There's going to be a broad range of topics that we discuss. I'm pretty chill when it comes to what you want to talk about. I had one student give a presentation on why Epstein didn't kill himself. Whatever floats your boat, like whatever you want to do, that's fine. The thing that I'm obviously not going to tolerate, if you're being antagonistic, that's fine. If you're being antagonistic, if you're being antagonistic to, let me amend that. If you're being antagonistic to provoke thought, to provoke a discussion, that's fine. If you're trolling for the sake of trolling, if you're trying to hurt people's feelings, I am very, very, very quickly going to shut you down. It really provokes my ire. It's a big pet peeve when people treat other people like they're stupid. I never do that to people, and I very much dislike when anybody does it to me, and I will not tolerate watching people do it to other people. Absolutely not. But if you wanna go against the grain, I won't stop you from discussing particular topics like the one that I just mentioned, or anything that you have an actual opinion on that is not designed to hurt other people's feelings. And of course, racism, any kind of bigotry, I don't even have to say that's like to the extent of my ability, I will make sure that the proper people in the administration and in our department are informed in case there's any kind of formal punishments or consequences that you need to face for doing things like that. I have a zero tolerance for things like that. All right. Moving on, and sort of in that same vein, discussion threads are critical to your learning experience. Okay. And I'm a firm believer in discussion. I generally don't get my feelings hurt through argumentation. Even if somebody refutes an argument that I'm making, even if somebody has a much better point than I do, and it's hurting my ego, I always try to keep an open mind. It's human nature to be irked by things like that. That's fine. But I encourage you to keep an open mind during our discussions, and at least listen to what people are saying, and then figure out a way to refute it if you don't agree with it, or maybe question it if it's something that somebody's saying that you're like, hey, I've never considered this before. It might be worth listening to. That's one of the things that as your critical thinking evolves, that's something that you're going to become better at. That you're going to have a better grip on who you are as a person in those kinds of discussions. But I do like quality discussion, and I enjoy reading and participating in quality discussion. All right. So our discussion threads are compulsory. Every week you'll see. So this week our discussion threads are just introductions, but week 2 and onwards, except for like spring break and maybe like during speech weeks, you guys are gonna have to participate in discussions. Those discussions are a part of your grade, I believe, and we'll get into this a little bit lower down, but I believe discussions are 20% of your grade. So you need to post your own thread beginning a discussion and the topic that we're talking about. You also need to post at least once in one of your classmates' threads, and it can't just be stuff like "I agree." It needs to be a little bit thought out. Okay, I'm not gonna be like, "Oh, it needs to be exactly a paragraph," or and it needs to be a specific length or word count or anything like that. But it needs to be well thought out. Again, don't treat people like they're stupid, and don't treat me like I'm stupid. All right, I believe that my actual work requirements for this class are a lot less than what you're going to get from a lot of your other instructors. So the work that I do assign you, I expect to at least be done well. All right, because it doesn't take that long for you to do it well. And really have fun with the discussions. They should be things that are thought-provoking. You can post in them just to post in them and just to satisfy your requirement for the class. But I mean, you'll benefit as an individual if somebody's saying something thought-provoking and you wanna engage them in that conversation. You're gonna benefit from that. And then there's all this stuff about high-quality feedback responses, yada yada yada. General assignments, you can read this part on your own. I already discussed this part that says, don't email me assignments. I will not accept emailed assignments at all. If you're having trouble uploading to Google Drive, you need to let me know beforehand, and we can work something out. If it's 11:55 and something isn't working out, I'm not going to help you. I promise I'm not going to help you. For anything that we do, so there are going to be times like, so for our visual aid speeches, and for our informative speeches, when you take a look at your outlines, they are going to involve you doing a works cited, because you're going to have to reference articles and different, and you're going to have to reference different sources, and so you're going to have to do that in APA style. There's a lot of different sources for you to do that. The one that I really like is the Purdue OWL, and then of course there's a million websites that'll format that stuff for you. Alternatively, you can contact the Writing Center in the English department, and they'll be happy to help you do that sort of thing. Like I was saying earlier, technology is a fickle thing. Things can go wrong constantly, okay? Constantly. You have to do things a little bit ahead of time, especially when we're doing this in an online environment, because if something goes wrong and it's minutes before your assignment is due, it's unrealistic of you to expect that I'm going to help you out doing something like that. It just doesn't work that way. All right. So I talked about expectations of student effort. I'm not going to go over that again. Late policy. Every day that something is late, I will deduct 10%. After 4 days, you fail that assignment. You get a 0. You don't get a 50. You don't get a 60. You get a big, fat goose egg. All right? I don't care. I don't care. 4 days late for an assignment, unless you were stuck in a ditch, suckling water out of a cactus to stay alive, there's no reason that you should just ghost me for 4 days. One semester, I had a student who just didn't show up this was in my 141 class, and their last speech is a persuasive speech. She had an A throughout the entire semester, and then she just didn't show up for her persuasive speech. And to the point where, like, she didn't show up that entire week. Like, I thought she was dead. Like, I started Googling news articles, like, with her name, because I was like, did something happen that I didn't read about that, like, mentions that, like, was she in a car accident or something like that? And so and then she showed up the next week and she was like, I just didn't know what I was going to write about. I was like, that's okay. That's up to you. So our first, we do a diagnostic speech, which I'll talk about later. That's worth no points. That's just for me to understand a baseline. It's in your first. It's just for me to understand what you think a speech is. It's part of your introductory video, and that's not graded. Like you just do it. And then in our in this 131 class, so I lost my. I hate talking for this long. We're almost done, though, I promise you. So in this class, we have an informative speech and a visual aid speech. Those are going to be the speeches that you do individually. And then the fishbowl and the symposium, those are group activities. And as you can see, the further into the semester we go, the more things are worth, because the more experience we have with them. Each outline is worth 2.5% of your grade. Obviously, everything is out of 1,000. So 10%, 10%, 15%, 200% for each speech respectively. 2.5% or 25 points for each of your outlines. Activities, which are listed further down in the syllabus, are worth a total of 15% or 3% per activity. Those are just, if you do them, you get the points. There's no rubric. I just want you to do them. And again, not, give me some BS and then be like, oh, I did the assignment. No, there's criteria. You meet those criteria, you get the full 3% per activity. You don't meet the criteria, you get a 0. All right. That's just how it works. And then your discussions are worth a whopping 20%. We're going to have about 13 weeks of discussions. It's going to involve pretty much the entire class. If you're not participating in those discussions, throughout. Like if you don't participate in a majority of those discussions, then your grade is going to suffer as a result, very dramatically, I think. Here's the grade percentage breakdown. That's the standard UIF stuff. We have reading material. It's recommended, but it's not required. Dr. DeCaro was my thesis committee chair. He's a professor at the university. Very, very intelligent guy. Very learned in communication. We use his book in 131. Again, recommended, not required. I'm going to give you all of the required reading that you need in Blackboard. And then there's a supplemental information packet that's available through this link. A lot of the information that it contains, I'm going to give you throughout the semester anyway. But if there are, if there are things about the class, if there are things about like what's acceptable to say in a speech, it talks about hate speech and biased language and all that stuff in the supplemental information packet. It has the rubric breakdown. It has it has a grade conversion for the rubric that we use. We use for our speeches a rubric that's out of 40 points. The thing is, it's not like 20, and again, this is one of those things where you need to read the syllabus. 20 out of 40 is not 50%. On the rubric that we use, 8 out of 40 is a 60%. I'll say that again. 8 out of 40. If you get an 8 on your speeches, and the way that the speeches work, if you show up, if you give me the bare minimum, if you send me a speech that's a minute long, the minimum that I can give you is 8 out of 40. That is department policy. So you will at least pass. You're not going to have a good grade, but you will pass. All right. So don't ever not submit a speech. Even if you have nothing, at least submit 1 minute just telling me what the topic that you wanted to discuss was, and I will give you an 8 out of 40. If you submit nothing, you get a 0. So the baseline that you can get is an 8 out of 40. The supplemental information packet has the conversion into 100, 150, and 200 point system, because if you see here, the different speeches are weighted differently. So 35 out of 40, the 35 out of 40 to convert it to 100 uses a different logarithmic calculation than converting it to 150 points. It's not a direct division. So all of those things are shown, like what 35 out of 40 means. I mean, they'll always mean the same. They'll always mean the same letter grade at the end of the day. Like they'll always mean the same percentile, but they won't always be the exact same number in a 100-point system, and a 150-point, and a 200-point system. So to get the conversion, you get it from the supplemental information packets. And then finally, here are my classroom policies, virtual classroom, if you will. We're not going to be engaging in much classroom discussion throughout the course of this class. like in terms of like the live classes themselves. But obviously the discussion threads, what it says here about classroom behavior, I've already discussed. But it does say it in the it will factor in for the discussion threads. There's something else here about speech recordings. This is not relevant to us because we're not participating in a live class. Attendance and tardiness. Again, for the purposes of this class, I'm not taking attendance for who's showing up and who's not showing up to the live lectures. This is something where if you have the link, I recommend that you subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to my channel. But I recommend that you subscribe to the channel so that you don't have to keep using the link. And so you can always refer back to these videos if there's something, because I'm also going to be presenting lectures this way. So it's something that if you don't know how something works, then you can always refer back to these videos. But I won't be taking attendance and there won't be tardiness. The way that I'm going to be taking attendance is through if you're submitting your work or not. I don't do makeup speeches. It's going to be very rare. If you have a medical emergency, the only other situation I've had that was a non-medical emergency where I gave somebody an excuse is this one student, my first semester teaching at UAF, he had like a summons to be a character witness for his friend that was like in a trial of some kind. And again, he showed me the paperwork for that. I took it to the department and they okayed it, and then that was fine. Other than that, I can't give you makeup stuff. Interrupting speeches in progress, that doesn't apply to us. That may apply later on when we're doing the fishbowl and the symposium, but I'm going to, of course, ask people to mute. And if you're not muted, it's going to reflect negatively on your own speech grade. Plagiarism is something that I will not tolerate. If I'm getting outlines from you that reflect a certain quality of work, and then I'm getting speeches that are way above that quality of work, it's going to be very suspicious. I have never once encountered an issue of plagiarism in my 5 years teaching at UAF. Do not ever make me have to suspect you of plagiarism. If there's something that you think may be encroaching on somebody else's work, then come to me and we'll figure it out. I'll tell you if it's appropriate for you to use or not. Technology in the classroom does not apply to us. And for students with disabilities, if there's something that you need from me, you go through disability services, you get the paperwork, you get them to send me the paperwork that I need, and I will be more than happy to accommodate you. I'm very flexible, especially in the online environment, with what form that's going to take. Again, it's something that I have to be adaptable for different disabilities. Because I'm not keeping track of every single kind of disability somebody can have. So you just go through disability services. If you don't know how to go through disability services, reach out to me and we'll figure that out together. And of course, then you have resources, the Speaking Center designed to help you with your speeches, the Writing Center designed to help you with your writing, and then the Library for Research and things like that. Is also a fantastic resource. You can call or email me to schedule an appointment, and we can Zoom, or you send me an email with a question, whatever you want. That's totally fine. And then at the end here is our class schedule. The schedule is tentative. It can be changed based on if I think people are struggling or something like that. Then we can change that schedule. But I'll always let you know on Blackboard. I'll send out an announcement saying, hey, the syllabus that was uploaded at the beginning of the semester is no longer relevant. I've made an amendment to it, and so the new schedule, I've uploaded a new syllabus. You're still going to access it in the same place on Blackboard, but it'll be a new document that I will have uploaded with an updated schedule. And you can take a look at it here. It has all the information, and it's fairly self-explanatory. All right, folks. So that's pretty much all I had to say. I just want to wrap it up by saying, again, the benefit to you showing up to these live classes, and I'm sorry that live chat was not enabled for this particular broadcast. I will make sure that it is available for the next broadcast that we have. Additionally, the thing that I want you to know is that I am not going to be doing these lectures. I'm not going to be doing these lectures every single day or every single or Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I'm only going to be doing them on Mondays. And the reason for that is because in my class, a lot of the days are dedicated towards us doing activities. And those activities don't actually involve me lecturing or doing anything like that. So I'm not going to sit here and waste people's time by repeating myself again, because the videos are always available, or by giving more information than I think is needed for the semester. So the only days where I'll actually be broadcasting a new lesson will be Mondays. That's going to be like the surefire one, is you'll always have a lesson on Monday. If that needs to change, again, I will fill you in, and we'll adapt together. For now, like don't create any concrete plans for Wednesdays or Fridays that are gonna, or actually, again, because these are always going to be available later. It's really, if you want to show up, Mondays really are the day to show up. If I do end up needing to give a lesson on a Wednesday or a Friday, if you have a question that's not easily answerable through text, we can Zoom. You can email me. We'll figure something out that'll work out for you. But like I said, it's very adaptable. Like, online doesn't have to be this super formal space where we do things. It's just a way for me to articulate your lectures for you. Okay, so just before I wrap up here, let's go back into desktop view, and let's go into your course materials. Now, your first week, okay, I just want you to familiarize yourself with Blackboard, the brief blurb about using your UAF email. If you have a hard time doing this, then go through OIT. Here, this shows you how to share a Google Drive folder with me. It's very, very, very self-explanatory. All right, I had a couple of people send me the wrong thing when it comes to their class section. Your class section is not 121 or 131 or whatever it might be. Again, for you guys, it's 131. Your class section for the 1030 class is FX1. All right, FX1. Again, shows you how to do all of this stuff with me, how to find me. And I will, if you just type Ramsey, if you're using your Alaska EDU email, if you just type Ramsey, I think I'm the only Ramsey in the Alaska system who spells his name this way. So I'll show up immediately like this. If for whatever reason I don't show up, my email is also right there for you. It's rabugalium@alaska.edu. My last name is very difficult to spell. I've written it for you so that all you have to do is highlight it and copy paste it. And that's it. That's the extent of what you have to do. And then you just upload assignments and videos and things like that into that shared folder, and I will get them. All right. Now, what is due for you next Sunday? And this is the reason that we don't really need to have a lecture every Wednesday and Friday as well as Mondays, is that a lot of this class is designed to be pretty much functional without you needing to watch live lectures. It is going to be important the way that I present lessons and things like that, like lectures for you, will be live on YouTube. Again, you'll always be able to access that content later. But pretty much for your assignments and things like that, it's all explained in documents, and you don't need to show up to I don't need to hold a lesson for you to be able to understand what needs to be done. So do this Sunday by 11:59 p.m., all right, Alaska time. You need to share a Google Drive folder with me, okay? The instructions can be found above right here, okay? And then you need to have your introductory video that is worth 50 points. The introductory video is just you telling me again. So this is not it's not graded. If you take a look at what's it called? Oh, actually, I'm sorry about that. I need to amend that. The introduction video is not worth 50 points. The introductory video is worth 0 points. I just need you to make an introductory video telling me what you think a speech is. It's just something that we do as a baseline for understanding what people think a speech is. The way that we've done it in the past is that whatever you give your introductory speech topic on, I would make you give a presentation without having taught you anything, and then you would give your informative speech on that same topic. I'm not going to do that this semester. I'm actually, and so where it says 50 points there, that's wrong. It's not worth any points. I just need you to submit a video telling me what you think of speeches. And of course, this is designed just for you to be familiar with how to upload things into Google Drive. All right. And also down there is the requirements for when you shoot video. So you need to be at eye level, you're not looking down, clearly visible. I need to be able to see your upper torso and higher. You can't have a lot of background noise, and then you need to upload it to Google Drive. All right. Again, pretty straightforward, pretty self-explanatory. You share. So for this week, what I need you to do, share a Google Drive folder with me, all right? And then just submit an introductory video into Google Drive with those prerequisites, recording device at eye level, clearly visible with good lighting, all of that sort of thing. Just so I know that you know how to upload it into Google Drive and we don't run into issues later on. There is also a discussion topic for this week, okay? So you'll see this introduction forum. You'll just create a thread, right? And you'll title the subject, whatever, Ramsey introduction video, okay? And then you'll just, type out, whatever, hello, my name is Ramsey, and I love the band Radiohead because they're awesome. All right. I mean, you can include as much information or as little information as you want. This week's discussion is not graded, but, give us a chance to get to know you. So that's it, folks. I will release you. That's going to be it for this week. Please get that stuff done. What are we doing here? All right. Yeah, that's it for this week. Get that stuff done. Get it to me before Sunday. The Google Drive folder needs to be shared with me before Sunday. And you need to be submitting things into that Google Drive folder. I've repeated this a million times during introducing the syllabus, but it's going to be how we submit everything. If you're unfamiliar with Blackboard, if you're unfamiliar with Google Drive or something like that, reach out to me and I will be happy to help you. All right, that is it for me, folks. No lecture on Wednesday, no lecture on Friday. Get those assignments into me by Sunday, and I will see you same time, same place on Monday. Auf Wiedersehen. right. And once again, we begin. Whew. Okay. And I can hear myself, so I'm going to take these things off. Alrighty. Let's get rid of that text there. Perfect. All right, folks. Welcome to Cojo F131. You are the FO2 class. This is Fundamentals of Oral Communication group context, as opposed to 141, which is the individual context. This class has an emphasis on group problem solving and group communication. Now, the first half of both classes and 121 are basically the same. You have individual speeches. The second half of the semester, that's where it gets different. For you guys, you will have group speeches. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on. So my name is Ramsey. I'll be your instructor this semester. This is my 5th year teaching at UAF. This will be my second time teaching 131. I've taught 141 for most of my time here. I've also taught 121 as of last year. 131 I think is a little bit of a more fun class than 141. And that's because you get to interact with your classmates a little bit more. Obviously, you're going to lose out on the intimacy of being in the classroom, but given that we live in COVID times, them's just the breaks. All right, so what is Cojo 131? Cojo 131, starting at the fundamentals of what communication is in general, it's a class that's designed to sort of help you narrow down what to say. All right, it's a class that's designed to teach you how to speak and what to say when you speak in a formal environment. And so the objectives of this class: constructing defensible claims that will inform the subject matter of our speeches, applying informative and persuasive outlines to our speeches to ensure that they are structured and planned, developing and sourcing focused points which reinforce and support our claims, and presenting speeches confidently using verbal and nonverbal skills which demonstrate mastery of content. Now, obviously, it's not going to be mastery of content. I think within the 5 months or 4 months that we're going to be here, if you're really interested in speaking in public or becoming a better public speaker, you should take to heart the things that I'm telling you, and you'll get yourself 50 to 60% of the way there. As with any other skill, the first half of getting there is relatively simple. The second half is very difficult, and of course, the more you get to the threshold of sort of where we've gotten in a particular field, whether it's public speaking, playing an instrument, playing a sport, whatever it might be, academia, the more difficult, the more time you're going to have to spend becoming an actual master of that content. And if you don't want to follow along with me on this video, if you want to take a look at the syllabus yourself and just follow along with the sound of my voice, you can, of course, open up our Blackboard page, go to Syllabus and Book, and you can download the syllabus right here. All right? Okay, so the goal of the goal of 131, or the way that we accomplish 131, Cojo 131, it's broken down into really 2 areas: what you write and how you say what you write. All right, so content and delivery. In the classroom environment, anyway, these things are a petri dish because you're not really performing in front of strangers, especially by the end of the semester. They're your classmates. They're people that you know. Of course, this is going to be a little bit different in the online context, and that's because it makes things a little bit more simple. You don't necessarily have to have an audience. What I will say, and what other instructors compel their students to do, is to deliver their speech in front of an audience. All right. Now, because it's COVID times, I'm not going to make you do that. If you have a safe way, if you live with your family or if you live with your spouse, whatever it might be, if you live with people that can be an audience for you safely, safely, all right, then by all means, I will not stop you from having an audience if you want to progress in that way. However, like I said, it's not a compulsory component of the class. All right. I'll also take a little bit of a look at communication theories and things like that. These are things that I find interesting. That I find interesting that I think are helpful when we think about communication. And my class, the way that it's designed, and we'll get into this now with teaching methods, the way that my class is designed is so that I can give you skills that you can apply in your real life. My first semester teaching at UAF, I had these 3 girls that sat in the front, and I was in a classroom on the first floor or the third floor rather, the ground floor of the Greening building. And it was not a smart classroom. So I had to check out a card from the library and wheel it in. And so it required a little bit of setup. And so these 3 girls, I guess they were friends. They would chit-chat at the beginning of class. And one of them, she would use the word like all the time. Like, I was like talking to this guy and like, whatever, and like, and then he was like, and then I was like, whatever. So I turned around and I asked her, what am I teaching you in this class? Why do you keep using the word like? Just slow down. And she went, yeah, but this is how like we talk in real life. And it doesn't have to be. It doesn't necessarily have to be. You'll notice that I do a lot of vocal hedging. I'll use a lot of ums and ahs. That has to do with the fact that obviously this is not a memorized. I haven't memorized how I do this. I've done it a lot, giving you this information. But everybody has vocal hedges. The difference is that when you're in a formal speech environment, you want to minimize that as much as possible. And next week, when we take a look at our rubric, you'll see that it's built into that. So my teaching method relies predominantly on a couple of things. All right, we have lectures, we have discussions, and we have activities. I think activities are very important for you to be able to apply the things that we've learned in this class. Critical thinking as well is an important part of being better communicators. Now, because this is an online environment, our delivery method is going to be a little bit different. Blackboard is sort of the backbone of how we do things. I'm going to be delivering anything that I have to get to you is going to be predominantly delivered through Blackboard, except for these lectures, which will be delivered through YouTube. All right, and the reason that I'm using YouTube is because, one, these videos can live forever and you can refer back to them whenever you want. And then also, I think it's an easier way. Zoom has this component of like, are people on? Are people not on? Are people listening? Are people going to interrupt when they join? Blah, 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 blah. Streaming on YouTube circumvents all of that. All right. Obviously, the downside is that you can't ask questions live. And I know that chat is turned off for this video. I didn't realize that it was, and I didn't want to stop the stream. So, I didn't want to confuse people and make them think that it was offline or something like that. So for the next class, the chat will be turned on and you guys will be able to ask questions, and I'll be able to, there's a bit of I think there's a 10 or 15 second delay, but essentially in real time, I'll be able to read your questions and answer them. And that's just sort of like the thing that we have to do. If people really, really dislike our use of YouTube, we can go to Zoom or we can try something else. But for the time being, I would like to use YouTube. Now, because this is a group communications class, your first 2 speeches, like I said, are an informative and a visual aid speech, and those are individual speeches. But then you have 2 other speeches or 2 other presentations called a fishbowl and a symposium. And those are presentations, those are group presentations. So you're going to have to do them with other people. For the purposes of those presentations, we will be using Zoom because there's nothing else that we can use. And I believe the way that I'm going to do it, so what the fishbowl entails, and obviously we'll get into this in a lot more depth later on in the semester, but the fishbowl is going to be you doing a presentation, or you being put in a group and having to problem solve with that group, utilizing problem solving theories and things like that. And then the symposium will be a group presentation with that same group that you did your fishbowl with. You're going to have to do a speech similar to the first two individual speeches that you did, in that they're going to have to be informative and they're going to have to incorporate a visual aid component. But this speech will be different because it'll be delivered in a group. It'll be a group informative speech. One person's going to have to moderate, do the introduction at the beginning, introduce each person when it's their turn to speak. And then each person in the group will have to come up and present their section on the specific topic that you guys are talking about. And for that, we will use Zoom. Now, when it comes to recording your speeches, usually I would record the speeches in class. Obviously, we can't do that this time. For the most part, people have smartphones. They record themselves on their smartphones. If you don't own a smartphone, if you have a webcam or a laptop with an integrated webcam, if you have Windows, you can use, if you have Windows 8 or newer as an operating system, you can use the camera app. If you just hit the Windows button and type in camera, it should show up. If you have Mac, the photo booth app is something that you can use. It'll capture through your webcam, and then you will be able to upload it to our shared Google Drive folder, which I'll talk about here in a sec. Alternatively, you have access to a program called Kaltura with your Alaska ID. I vehemently dislike Kaltura. It's very, very good for things like closed captioning, and that it's very accurate. What it does not do well is it's not user-friendly. It's not user-friendly at all. And so I dislike using Kaltura. If you want to use it, you absolutely can. However, I would prefer that we did not. All right, I would prefer that we did not. Yeah. If we need to go there, if you don't have access to the camera equipment, sorry, by the way, I had lectured the class before you and I spoke for the entire hour, and I'm doing it again now, so like my head's all abuzz. Yeah, so we can use Kaltura if we need to. If you don't have access to any kind of recording app on your computer and you don't own a smartphone, then that's something that we can definitely talk about. However, if that does not apply to you, then we can move on from Kaltura. So finally, Google Drive. I had a couple of people email me yesterday asking me some questions about Google Drive after I released the announcement for the classes. So the thing that it is, the thing with Google Drive is that, so first of all, I had students email me being like, oh, do I have to share the Google Drive folder with you today? No. Whenever I release content, I'll always release content on a Sunday, and it'll be the Sunday preceding the week that things need to be turned in by. All right. So if I release content yesterday, whatever is due is not due like that same day. That would be preposterous of me to expect you to do that. It's due the following week. Okay. So you did not have to share a Google Drive folder with me yesterday. Okay. The thing is, anything that you turn in, your speeches, outlines, any assignments like that, I need you to share a Google Drive folder with me because I teach over 100 students. And so I can't keep track of every single person. Like I'm not going to make a folder for every single person. I'm not going to keep track of people in that way. What I need is for you to share a folder with me. I'm going to then put your folder in your designated class. So for you guys, it would be FX2 or FO2, whatever it is. And that'll be that. Okay. That'll be that. That's how I'll keep track of you guys. And so for people, I also had a couple of people format it incorrectly. Okay, so if you take a look here at the top of the Word document, Cojo 131 is the class, FX2 is your section. FX2, F02, both of them mean the same thing. That's your section. So really, all that would be different is that you would put your name. So I would put Ramsey Abu Galyum, Cojo 131, FX2. I don't even need you to put in the spring 2021. All right. But that's what you name it. You share the folder with me. It's available in Blackboard. We'll take a look at it in a little bit. That's all you need. All right. Technical requirements, folks, you need to know how to use the internet. If you don't know how to use the internet, if you don't have access to the internet, that is not something that I can help you with. This is not the class for you. It's an online class. That's just how it has to be. Okay. Since you're going to be recording speeches, you need to have some kind of recording equipment, a phone, a camera, something like that, something that you can record with. I would reach out to the library. I don't know I will ask for next week, but I will find out whether or not the library is loading that equipment currently. If they're not, you're gonna have to figure out your own means of doing so. And then anything that you upload to me, any academic work, I am not allowed to share, and none of your instructors are allowed to share with anybody outside of the class. And obviously, I'm not permitted to share your grades and things like that with the rest of the class. But I mean, like, if they're going to see your presentation over Zoom, then they're going to see it. But nobody outside of the class should see that presentation. Okay, students are protected under the FERPA agreement, which all of your professors, me included, are bound by. And if you want, like, your mom can't call me and ask me about your grades, I'm not allowed to tell her. All right, unless you sign a release, and if that's something that you're interested in, we'll figure out how to do that. There's some paperwork that you have to fill out. I believe it's through the registrar or somebody in admin has to take care of that. If that's something that you're interested in, we'll figure it out and we can do that. All right. The other thing is that you need access to your UAF email account. All right. I had people emailing me or trying to access content through their Gmail or things like that. Unfortunately, the way that our class is structured, you can't do that. You need to be using your alaska.edu email to be able to do stuff like that. And that's just one of those things where to keep things consistent. So if you notice your Alaska edu email, if I send you an email to your Alaska email, it'll give you a big yellow warning at the top that says, like, warning, this person is not in your domain. And so a lot of things break, or you have to, like, start requesting permissions. I can't sit around and request and grant access to, like, every single file that I might link that is a Google Doc on my Alaska account to each person because you want to use your specific Gmail. Again, I teach 105 of you guys. Maximum, you guys are going to be taking 5 or 6 classes. It's easier for you guys to use your Alaska edu email and do that than it is for me to give 105 to, like, go through 105 different students' like specific things that they need. All right. Technical prerequisites. And if you don't know how to do any of this stuff, by the way, you can reach out to OIT. I've got the information for you to be able to reach out to OIT later on in this document. All right. Technical prerequisites. You need to know how to connect to the internet and browse. You need to know how to use simple filing systems like Google Drive, which is very easy. It works exactly the way that, like, Explorer works or Finder works. The way Explorer works in Windows or the way Finder works in Mac. All right. You don't have to know how to conduct research using UAF library resources. You give the librarians a call; they'll be happy to help you with this stuff. And some of you might have already taken your library sciences class. Additionally, I will give you the basic know-how to be able to find academic citations using UAF library resources. I'll give you a very rudimentary version of that. You have to know how to use and format a Word document or a Google Doc document. You have to know how to record video with whatever device you have. We're not going to be uploading videos or documents really to Blackboard. I'm not going to do that. And uploading to Google Drive is very simple. You have to know how to use your UAF provided email account, and you have to be able to watch videos that I upload for you on Blackboard. And there you go, your technical support, OIT. I have a link to their website. You'll be able to find their phone number and all that sort of thing in there. If you have any kind of technology-related grievance, reach out to them. If it's something that they can't help you with, reach out to me, and I'll try to get a handle on whatever your problem is, and we'll try to figure it out from there. All right. And then moving on. Okay, classroom climate. In my classes, we discuss a variety of things, all right? And I allow you to discuss a variety of things. I've had students who gave speeches on the history of swear words. That's fine, all right? You can totally do that if you want. What I will not permit in my class, and we have discussions, there's a discussion forum that is part of your grade that we use on Blackboard. What I will not permit when you're giving a speech, whether it's to me or whether your fellow classmates are going to be included in it, is any kind of hate speech, trolling for the sake of trolling, making people feel bad about their ethnicity, their gender, whatever it might be, their political beliefs. Your job is not to make other people feel small or stupid or anything like that. I don't do it to other people, and I hate watching people do it to other people. I will not, it really bothers me, and I will not tolerate it in my class, and I will shut you down very, very, very quickly. And if I see you being racist or xenophobic or intolerant in any kind of base way like that, I will make sure to take it up with my higher ups to make sure that if there are formal consequences for that kind of behavior, that I let them know about that particular student. That is not your right to make other people feel that way, and I promise you that I will not yield on that topic. All right, moving on. But like I said, outside of that, I will permit you to talk about, if you want to give a speech on genital diseases, other people might find it gross. It's a perfectly valid topic if that's something that you want to talk about. Obviously scientific in nature, not showing off weird, grotesque stuff. Like the speech has to be substantial in nature. It can't be like, hey, look at all these horrible photos that, it has to have some kind of qualitative merit to it. But that's something. But the quality of your speeches is obviously something. And the way that I vet that is through your outlines. When you submit an outline, if it's a subject that I find dubious in any way, shape, or form, then I'm going to bring that up with you, because I'll need to figure out exactly what you intend to give your speech about. And that's another one of those reasons why, because I'm going to be focusing on those kinds of particularities, I don't have the time to navigate each person having technical difficulties with their particular thing, or because they want something done in a specific way. I have to standardize it for people. Okay. But like I said, discussions are 20% of your grade. We'll look at the grade breakdown later on, and we'll look at the discussion forums. This week, it's really just an introduction. It's not going to be graded, but week 2 and onwards, outside of spring break, I think every single discussion is graded, and discussions are worth 20% of your grade. You're going to have to create your own discussion thread, and then you're also going to have to respond to one of your classmates' discussion threads. And again, it has to be substantial discussion. It can't just be like, yeah, I agree, lol, or like, yeah, totally. It has to be substantial. I don't have things like, I'm not going to be like, oh, you need to have at least 250 words. I'm not going to condescend to you in that way. But again, in reciprocity, I don't expect you to treat me like I'm stupid and type out some BS. All right. Now, if you want to post stuff that you don't necessarily believe in or something like that, just to satisfy the discussion requirement, you can do that. But I think that you will be all the better for posting quality discussion in the discussion forums. And if it's something that I love reading, thought-provoking stuff, I love reading other people's opinions, and I really like to see people engaging in discussions, especially if it's people who have differing opinions on a subject matter, but they're really taking the time to understand the other person's argument, even if you disagree with it, even if you plan on refuting it later. If you're listening to people and not just waiting for your chance to speak, that's something that I really enjoy looking, watching, engaging in, all of that sort of thing. Okay, and I have some general guidelines for what qualifies as high quality feedback response. All right, general assignment requirements. You're really not going to have to turn in many things through Microsoft Word or anything like that. You've got assignment outlines, and in those assignment outlines, there's going to be a works cited section that you're going to have to format according to the APA. I've linked a bunch of resources. I really like the Purdue OWL. That's the one that I use, which is the last one linked here. If you're having trouble with it, you can go to the English Writing Center. I've included a link for that later on in the syllabus. Actually, I've also linked it right there at the top. It's the first link. And there's also a million different websites that will format APA for you. Make sure that it's formatting it properly. Make sure it's not a website that that is formatting in an older version of APA, or you always want to be formatting with whatever the newest APA format is. So make sure that you're going to a quality website that'll format things for you. It's not something I'm going to harp on. It's not like a research class, or it's not a graduate level class. So I mean, like when I was writing my thesis, I got to the point where I could format 90% of my sources if they were from like a book or an academic article or something like that. I could just format it without needing to look. It was only if it came from an odd source, like it was a speech that somebody gave during a political rally or something like that, where I'd have to sort of take a look at how to cite it. But like I said, this is an undergrad class. It's a 100 level class. I don't care if you use a website to cite things for you. It's whatever. All right. So just before this class began, I was doing this exact same thing for my 1030 class, and I clicked a button on Microsoft Word that made the screen go black, and I had to sort of troubleshoot how to make that work, just on the fly. I'm pretty good with technology, so I was able to do it relatively quickly. If you're not great with technology, then allow yourself ample time for things to go wrong. If you're trying to upload to Google Drive and your internet isn't working and it's 11:58, the couple of minutes before you have to submit your presentation, I have no sympathy for you. And once again, I will not yield on docking 10% from your grade. All right. Which, if you see the late policy, I'm about to talk about it here in a sec. But I dock 10% per day for 4 days. So you can lose a grand total of 40% and still be able to turn things in. By the 5th day, it's a 0. Even if you turn it in, it's a 0. All right. I'm not going to sit there and grade it. So you can still get a passing grade if you submit things 4 days late. If you get 100% on your assignment, which is unlikely unless it's an activity. But outside of that, if you get a 90, that's a failing grade, but it's still better than a 0. Okay. Broken documents and things like that. Again, if it's broken, if I can't access it, I have no sympathy for you. Okay. That's something that you're going to have to test out beforehand and make sure that things work. And in Google Drive, if something doesn't work for me, then it won't work for you. So it's ubiquitous, and it's not workingness or workingness. So you're not really going to be able to skate by on being like, well, it works on my computer. I don't understand why it doesn't work on your computer. That's not how Google Drive works. All right. So students are expected to maintain a working backup plan to be implemented in the event of a computer malfunction or interruption of their normal internet service. Don't leave things until the last minute. Please don't, especially if your internet has a habit of being fickle. I'm going to have no sympathy for that, all right? And the late policy, I just described it, 10% per day for 4 days. On the 5th day, it's a 0 no matter what, okay? Grade categories, your first speech is a diagnostic speech. It's the thing that's due in Blackboard right now. It says that it's worth 50 points. I'm going to take that off. That was a mistake. That was intended for my 121 class. That first speech is worth 0 points. I just want you to tell me what you think a speech is. From then on, you have an informative speech that's worth 10% of your grade, a visual aid speech that's worth 10% of your grade. The fishbowl is worth 15%. Symposium is worth 20%. I'll explain. I know I explained briefly what all these things are. I'll explain what they are later on in the semester. The informative speech is the first thing that we're going to be working on, and we'll start working on it next week. And I'll explain in more detail what it is. You have outlines for each of your major presentations that are worth 2.5% of your grade. Activities are worth 15%. There's 5 activities, so they're worth 3% each. Activities are pass or fail. You do them, you get the 3% for each activity. You don't do them, you get the 0. All right, that's just how it works. Except if they're handed in late, and then obviously you're losing percentage points. You're losing up to whatever it might be, 1.8%, or you lose up to 1.2% of your grade. So you can get like up to 1.8%, or 18 out of 30, whatever it might be, whatever the breakdown is. which I think is 18 out of 30 per activity. And then discussions, like I said, discussions, because this is an online class, discussions are, and because it's a communications class, discussions are a big part of how you learn. They're a big part of my classes when I deliver them live. Because we're not able to do that, they're worth a giant percentage of your grade, because I'm also, obviously there's no attendance, and I'm going to talk about that in a second here. There's no attendance in my classes, so it doesn't matter to me whether or not you're watching this. You're watching my lectures live. First of all, for the time being, I'm only going to hold lectures on Mondays, because a lot of my class is activity based, and you're able to participate in the activities without my needing to deliver a lecture, because it's all written out for you and it's all fairly self-explanatory. And anyway, I will explain what the activity is on Mondays. But I see there's no reason for me to make you guys come into Wednesday and Friday lectures when I don't have anything to actually give you as a lecture. I also don't want to overwhelm you with a lot of content. And so I don't care whether or not you are here for a lecture. Obviously today, like I said, the live chat is turned off, and that's my fault. I screwed that up. Starting next week, live chat will be turned on, so you'll be able to ask me questions and I'll be able to answer them in real time. And that will really be the benefit of you showing up to these live classes, is for you to be able to ask a question, and for me to be able to answer it in real time. You can always ask me a question later on. You can always email me if you're really having trouble with something. We can organize a Zoom meeting or something like that, and I'll be able to answer it. I'll be able to answer it to the best of my abilities. But outside of that, like I said, not taking attendance. So I don't care if you show up and watch this time of, or if you log on to the channel and watch it at another time. Like I said, these videos are going to live forever. The other thing is that you guys are my second class of the day, so if you do want to ask a question, you can show up at 10:30, and that's when I'll be giving the lecture to my first class. It's the exact same class, so I'm going to be delivering the exact same material at 10:30 and at 11:45. And so if you want to show up earlier and ask a question so that you don't have to attend the 11:45 class, that's perfectly fine with me. I don't really care. But for those reasons, discussions are worth 20% of your grade, because they do function as participation and attendance and making sure that you're on par with the rest of the class. All right. Now this grade breakdown is not mine. It's the UAF grade breakdown. There's no difference in GPA wise between getting an A and an A plus. So if you end up with a 93 at the end of the semester, or you end up with 100 at the end of the semester, it's really for your own sense of self-satisfaction. It's not like it's going to be a 4.0 and it reflected in your GPA at the end of the semester, for my class at least. So there's no real difference between an A and an A plus. Reading material, these are recommended but not required, of course. A Small Group Communication Synergy by Dr. DeCaro. Dr. Peter DeCaro was my thesis committee supervisor. He was my thesis committee chair, he's a brilliant communications teacher. He teaches at UAF. And his specialty is communication and social movements. He did a lot of work. He himself is a Vietnam veteran, and he did a lot of work on the popular election of Ho Chi Minh and Ho Chi Minh's rhetoric in post-war Vietnam. His book is very good. You don't need to get it. It's helpful if you're interested in communication, if you're interested in group problem solving and being a better public speaker. It's a pretty good book to pick up, but it's not required. Any required material I will give you in Blackboard. I will provide for you in Blackboard. The other thing that I have linked here is our 131 supplemental information packet. The supplemental information packet has the grade breakdown. So the rubric that we use, and we're going to take a look at this next week. The rubric that we use is based on a 40-point system. And I really need you guys to pay attention to this part, because people ask me every semester, and I always have to answer this question. The rubric is logarithmic. What that means is it's out of 40. But What it also means is that 20 out of 40 is not 50%. 8 out of 40 is 60%. So if you get an 8 out of 40 on your speeches, you pass that speech. Not well, but you pass it. And for my classes, if you just hand in a 1-minute speech, let's say it's your informative speech, you hand in a 1-minute speech simply stating your name and telling me what your speech is about, the minimum that I can give you as per UAF, as per the Department of Communication and Journalism's policy, the minimum that I can give you is an 8 out of 40, which is 60%. So please, 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 never, ever don't submit a speech, okay? Never don't submit a speech. Even if it's a 1-minute speech, just tell me what your name is and what your topic is about. That is good enough to get you a 60%, and that'll at least, if you pull yourself up for the rest of the semester, or if you have spent the rest of the semester doing well. I told the story in the class that I gave just before this. I had one student who had an A. This is in my 141 class, so it was all individual speeches, but she had an A throughout the entirety of the semester. And her last speech, that is worth 20%, she didn't show up. And so I had to give her a 0. If you give me nothing, I have to give you a 0. Okay? I can't accept late speeches. So she showed up, and like to the point where I was flabbergasted that she didn't show up. You know, to the point where and she didn't show up the entire week, to the point where I hopped on Google and I Googled her name to see, and I checked news in the local area to see if she had been involved in a car accident or something like that, because I was like, why would she not show up? She had an A and she just tanked 20% of her grade, to the point where the maximum she could have gotten was a 75 in the class. And she showed up the next week and I was like, what the hell happened to you? And she started crying and she was like, oh, I didn't know what I wanted to give my speech on and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, dude, you're a lunatic. How could you do that? How could you so recklessly? And I told them, they all knew that the minimum that I could give them was a 60%. I was like, how could you tank your grade like that? Okay. But I couldn't do anything for her. Okay. And just if you don't submit something, I can't do anything for you. Okay. I don't even remember how we got on this topic, but oh yeah, the supplemental information packet. So the supplemental information packet. So every time I hand back one of your grades to you, the grade conversion is going to be on the second page of your rubric. So you'll always be able to take a look at what your grade means, because 8 out of 40 means 60, 10 out of 40 means something else, 12 out of 40 means something else, 30 out of, I think for you to get an A is I think 30 out of 40 is an A minus, 33 out of 40 is an A, something like that. You know, so it's the grade schema is kind of weird. So the supplemental information packet has the grade conversion, which again I always include for you whenever I hand back a rubric, or whenever I hand back a grade on a rubric. What it also contains is guidelines for what is and isn't biased language, expectations for the 131 class. It's got a bunch of useful information. That's, again, you don't need to read it, but it's helpful if you do. All right, and finally here, let's start talking about classroom policies. A lot of these are not going to apply to you guys because it's an online class. I already talked about classroom behavior a little bit. Essentially, don't be an ass. Okay, is my don't be an ass to me, don't be an ass to your fellow students, and we'll get along peachy keen. Speech recordings does not apply to you because I'm not going to be recording your speeches, because you're going to be recording your speeches. Attendance and tardiness, I'm not collecting attendance and tardiness here for this class. Makeup speeches and makeup exams, all right? As you can see from my humorous inputs there, I don't do makeup speeches or makeup exams. The only exceptions are when you have a valid medical excuse, like an actual doctor's note. The other thing that I've accepted before is somebody had a court summons because they needed to go be a character witness for their friend who was on trial for something. And so they gave me the correct paperwork. I was able to pass that on to my superiors at the Cojo department, and that was totally fine. Interrupting speeches, this is obviously not going to matter for your first 2 speeches. For your fishbowl and your symposium, where we are going to be on Zoom, I expect you to be muted. Don't interrupt your classmates. or it will be reflected in your, whoever's interrupting, it'll be reflected negatively on your grade. Plagiarism, I've never had to deal with plagiarism in my time at UAF. The university policy on plagiarism, the university has a zero tolerance policy on plagiarism. It can be found at that link that I have there in the document. Please don't make me deal with plagiarism. It's such a cringy thing for me to have to deal with. Okay, technology in the classroom does not apply to you guys. And then finally, students with disabilities. It's a little different because it's an online environment. If there's something that you need me to do, let disability services know. If you don't know how to contact disability services, I have the contact information there. But anyway, if you're having a hard time reaching them, let me know and we'll navigate all that stuff together. I don't have a list in my brain of like every single disability somebody can have, but I really want to help you if you need help. So go through disability services. That's a university formality for me to be able to accommodate you if you need special accommodations. What they won't give you is you can't have, because speeches are not considered exams, you don't get the time and a half thing that you would for exams and things like that. But for other things, again, I don't have a repository in my mind of everything that you would need, but go through disability services, get them to send me what you need, and I'll be happy to work with you. I've done that in the past. That's totally fine. And then finally here, I've got some resources for you guys. The Speaking Center is a resource for you to be able to use. It's an A to Z on anything that you would need when writing your speeches. Or like practicing delivering your speeches. The Writing Center is put on by the English department. If you're having trouble with grammar or if you're having trouble with the actual content of your speeches, reach out to me, reach out to them. They're a great resource. A lot of the grad students who I knew a couple of years ago when I was doing my master's degree, they're not there anymore, but it's a great program, and I think all the same people are still in charge. So you'll have all the help that you need. And like I said, the research assistants at the library, the research librarians at the library will be more than happy to help you out for things like research. If you need to have a Zoom conference with me or anything like that, shoot me an email and we'll figure that out. We have access to unlimited Zoom conferences with our Alaska IDs, and I'll show you guys how to do that later on. The course schedule is here. You guys can take a look at that on your own time. If I ever need to update the course schedule, I will send you guys an announcement that the old syllabus is no longer up to date and that I've uploaded a new one. You'll be able to find it in the exact same place on Blackboard, but the old one will be deleted and a new one will be uploaded in its place with a new and updated schedule or whatever else I need to update in the syllabus. I'm not going to go through all that. And then there's the boilerplate non-discrimination policy there. All right, so that's it, folks. Just before I let you go, I'm going to help you navigate Blackboard and just sort of like take a look at what we need for this week. Okay, so our bread and butter on Blackboard, I'm going to send you guys announcements, which I'll always send to your emails. You'll be able to access your grades on Blackboard. Everything is already in there and already set up. All I need to do is input grades when they happen. The syllabus is found, like I showed you earlier, in the syllabus and book section. All right. Course materials is where you'll find assignments that you need to do. All right. They'll always be at the bottom there. What I've got here is just a bunch of orientation things. That's all that you need for the first week. What I have here is this how to share a Google Drive folder with me. You're not going to be able to access this if you're trying to access Blackboard through something that is not your Alaska EDU email. It's going to ask me to grant you permissions, and I'm not going to grant you permissions because I've already received like 5 of those requests, and I just need you to log in through your Alaska ID to be able to access this particular document. And I'll have a couple of other documents that are also similar to this that you'll need to be because it's a link. Because it opens up in Blackboard as a link, you're going to need to be logged in through your Alaska EDU in order to access it. But here it is. It shows you how to share a Google Drive folder with me. It's very self-explanatory. You'll have to name it, your name, your Cojo 131, and your section as FX2 or F02. Call it whatever you want. If you've already sent me a folder and you've named it incorrectly, please name it correctly, because I'm not going to sit there. If it's not named correctly, I'm not going to put you in the classroom that you need to be in. I'm not going to sit there and look for, again, I teach over 105 students. It's still add and drop period, and I'm probably going to end up teaching closer to 120 students. I'm not going to sit there and pick through 120 students' names to find out which classroom you belong in. I explained very thoroughly I've explained very thoroughly how to share this information with me. If you're not doing it correctly, it's on you for not reading. I can't help you with that, all right? And if you don't have a proper Google Drive folder shared with me, then the things that you're submitting are not going to be counted, and that's obviously going to be reflected negatively in your grades. All right, so you share it. Again, when you're logged in with your Alaska EDU on Google Drive, just simply typing my name into the share when you go to share the Drive folder with me. The way that my name is spelled, I think I'm the only Ramsey in the Alaska EDU system. But even if I'm not, I've included my email up there in the number 6 point for you. It's rabogalium@alaska.edu. You just copy paste it in there, and I'll receive the notification that you shared your correctly named Google Drive folder with me. All right, and that's it. So now on Sunday, let's do this upcoming Sunday. Share a Google Drive folder with me and upload an introduction video telling me about yourself and telling me what you think a speech is, why you wanted to take this class. 3 to 5 minute long video. It says 50 points here. It's not worth 50 points. It's worth nothing. It's just, so I mean, like, you have the option of not submitting it, but I would not submit it because it tells me a little bit about who you are, and then also it just shows me that you know how to use Google Drive. And then the prerequisites for how you're going to have to record the rest of your speeches that are graded are in here. And so you have to have your device at eye level, not looking down. You have to be clearly visible, your torso and upwards at least, with good lighting. Your recording area is not noisy. And then you know how to upload the video to Google Drive, to the Google Drive folder that you shared with me. Do not upload the video into your own Google Drive and then right-click it and share it with me. That's not what I want. I want you to place the video in the Google Drive folder that you have already shared with me so that I don't have a million floating documents, okay? That is it for that. There's also a discussion forum that I have put up. You won't see the rest of these because they're not available to you yet. You'll see student forum, which is just a general forum, and then week 1 introduction. You'll create a thread and just be like, hello, or just call it whatever, Ramsey introduction. Ramsey introduction. Hey guys, I'm Ramsey and Radiohead is my favorite band, blah, blah, blah. All right, and then you hit submit, and it'll show up, here. And then your classmates can come in and post on whatever you've written, or your classmates can create their own thing, and that's it. That's how discussions work. Your first week of discussions is not graded, but beginning second week and onwards, excluding spring break, discussions are going to be graded, so you're going to have to participate in them. They're worth 20% of your grade, and I'll always tell you what discussion you'll have to participate in the weekly folders that I'll be sharing in the course materials section. All right, so that's it for us for today. That's it for us for today. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to shoot me an email. Share those Google Drive folders with me if you haven't done that already. I love this double chin thing that I've got going on. All right. As you get older, that's just what happens. I'm also only 30, which to you must seem positively ancient. Okay, boomer, am I right? Yeah, that's pretty much it. Share that Google Drive folder with me. Introductory video. Post in the discussion forum. Let us know who you are. That's something that everybody's going to be able. The introductory video only I will see. And the introduction forum, feel free to post that video, the introductory video that you made if you want to. It's not compulsory, and posting in the introductory forum this week is also not compulsory. So it'd be nice if you did, but you definitely don't have to. But that's pretty much it. Like I said, share Google Drive folder with me. Put that introductory video in there just so I know you know what you're doing. Post in the discussion forum, the introductory discussion forum. And that's pretty much it. Starting next week, we'll start taking a look at rubrics and we'll start getting into the nitty gritty of the class, but that is what I'm going to leave you with for now. Like I said, this class is only this live lecture is only going to happen on Mondays. If they need to happen on Wednesdays or on Fridays, I'll let you know on Monday because there always will be a class on Monday. If anything changes, I will let you know, very much beforehand to the best of my abilities, of course. But for now, just keep in mind that Monday, 11:45, that's when your lecture is going to be. And again, live chat will be enabled next week. If you want to show up to the earlier 10:30 class because you don't want to wait later on, that's perfectly fine, and feel free to ask questions then. I'd be more than happy to answer them. All right, folks, that is it for me. Sayonara. I will see you next week. Please get that stuff done, and feel free to shoot me an email if there's something that you didn't understand. All right? Peace out. Take it easy.